Black Ops 4, the game people loved to hate. But over the last few years, the sentiment around this game has shifted, and rightly so. Now, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be someone who loved this game from day one, and is now gushing over the fact that everyone else is seeing this game for what it is. Because I am one of those people that wasn't really a huge fan of this game when it launched. The multiplayer was multiplayer, good for a few games, but ultimately not something many people wanted to play for 8 hours consecutively. Blackout was stale and near lifeless, and quite frankly, stayed that way forever. And Zombies, well, Zombies was a mess. On launch, we had 2 completely separate stories spanning across 4 maps, long overdrawn Easter eggs, a whole plethora of new and quite frankly unnecessary enemies. I mean, playing 9 for the first time and having about 8 brand new enemies to deal with in a single map was overkill and then some. But amongst all of the chaos that was Black Ops 4, especially Black Ops 4 Zombies, they had given us a gold mine of content, being the separate game modes. The introduction of Rush, a fast-paced mode which was basically just a mad dash for the most points, custom mutations allowing you to customize how you play zombies down to almost every detail, and finally the gauntlets. 30 challenges over 30 rounds that increased with difficulty, and there was one for every map. Which leads us to today's challenge, the IX Gauntlet. I have never beaten this gauntlet solo. I have attempted several times. A few of those attempts are even on the channel somewhere, but not once have I beaten it by myself. But today, that changes. Before we get into this, please do drop a like on the video as it really does help out the channel, and let me know in the comments what other painful challenges you want to see me do in Call of Duty Zombies. So I spawned in with my Mag 12 shotgun and I got to work. The first few rounds are just testers basically. They aren't really challenging challenges, with the first being taking hits drains my points, which on round 1 isn't really anything to worry about at all. The second being survive an onslaught of sprinters. Once again, round 2, there'll only be like 10 of them anyway. So I headed up to the first altar to get my Pack-a-Punch kills. End of round 2, we've completed another challenge and I have my first head, where I still never forget how gross opening Pack-a-Punch on this map is. Round 3 and our next challenge is missed shots cause damage. Probably the worst thing that could have ever happened to me because my aim is god awful. So I carefully started taking out the destroyer. Luckily, I am using a shotgun, so it isn't exactly the hardest gun in the world to hit your shots with. With the destroyer taken out and a round flipped, we get a new challenge. Mag 12 only. Now this is where my prior playthroughs of this gauntlet help, as I obviously already knew that I'd be needing this gun at some point. I was also slowly making my way through the entire map, as I also knew there was a challenge coming up to open every door. Mag 12 round done, and I now had to build the shield, which I completely forgot about. So I now had to run around the whole map again and grab all the parts. Shortly later, the shield is built, Pack-a-Punch is also opened, which now means we can continue. It's now time for me to open all of the doors, which on paper doesn't sound too difficult. However, many of the doors on this map cost upwards of 2,000 points, and it's round 6. Not like there's much cheddar to be earned at this round, you know? Thankfully, the game does turn on Horde mode for this round, which I also completely forgot about, and this pretty much just bombards you with a bunch of zombies. So, because I'm actually a big brain genius, instead of just opening the doors the second I get the points, I kept on killing zombies to grind together as many points as I could. This was mainly due to the fact that some of the later challenges actually require you to spend quite a lot of points by pack-a-punching multiple guns in a round, owning X amount of perks, and so on. A few minutes later, I had almost 10,000 points and the final zombie was here, so I went and opened the last door to take us to the next challenge. Shield kills only. The Brazen Bull is actually one of the best shields in the game in terms of dealing damage, as it has 2 attacks, one being a melee, which on round 7 is a one hit, which is great for this challenge, and the other being a burst fire range attack, basically making this thing a walking tank. Well, until it's either out of ammo or breaks, that is. But as you can imagine, this challenge is pretty easy, and before long we're on to the next. In fact, the next few challenges are also pretty simple, including weapons can only be used whilst crouched, and sacrificing gladiators on the podium. It's also now in round 9 where I get Fire Sale and somehow pull the best gun in the game, the Hellion salvo. The easy challenges weren't done yet, with defending the temple on round 10, which was made exceptionally easy with my newly acquired Hellion, and then hipfire only the following round. Now, I may have said these were easy challenges, which they are, but leave it up to me to still end up taking it down. So, round 11, and we're down to just 2 lives left, and still 19 challenges to go, which is wonderful for me. Round 12, sprinting is disabled, and round 13, I had to pack-a-punch 2 different guns. I had already upgraded the Mog, so pack-a-punching it again was nice and cheap, and I'd pack-a-punch the Hellion during the round switch, which also counted. I was making very light work of these challenges so far, even though, yes, I did have it down on the board, I was still cruising through these challenges pretty comfortably. Round 14, and we had probably the most tedious challenge of the IX Gauntlet, being earn 1,000 points from repairing windows, which, for all you math geniuses out there, that's 100 boards that need to be repaired. 100. And as it was going to take 100 boards to get this done, I'll just skip to the end. I ended up killing a zombie with the Mog, which has brain rot on it. I'm sure you can figure out the rest from there. So, 2 lives now down the drain, and I had to start this ball-like of a challenge again. But I managed to trap a poor zombie behind the barrier and then proceeded to pretty much just torment him for the next 5 minutes or so. Round 15's challenge is to defend the bathhouse, and this is where things start to get a little difficult, as it's also this round where the first Blightfather spawns, because of course it does. What makes this one difficult is the bathhouse isn't exactly the most spacious area on the map, and having nearly every enemy and every enemy type spawn in here, it gets a little hectic. But the Hellion doesn't care about that, and after a bit of panic and a lot of blasting, we're moving on to the next challenge, which is to complete the round with 3 or more perks. And as I've already done that, this is basically just a go and relax for 2 minutes kind of round. Round 17, we're back to only being able to use the Mog, and around 18, we have headshots only. And it's here that I learned you can actually cheese this with the Hellion, as it just obliterates anything and everything in its path. Round 19, and this is another tedious one, survive for 9 minutes. Pretty much just a 9-minute round 19 because the map's called 9. Just wonderful. Now that I'd finally lasted longer than 9 minutes, it was time for the final 10 challenges. Starting us off with defend the arena. Not a difficult start, but who cares. Round 21, I was a little nervous for, as we're back to taking damage causes points drain, and I had a lot of cheddar on the line, and I knew I'd be needing it soon. I basically treated this round as if it was April 2020 all over again. Round 22, and I had to possess 2 fully pack-a-punch guns, but what the game didn't know is that I'm a Chad, and I'd already done that, so we move. Survive the Tiger Offensive was up next, and at first, it didn't really seem like there was that many tigers chasing me. That was until about a minute in, I turned around and saw about 11 of them chasing me, but I have a Hellion, so why was I scared? Round 24, and I'd kill zombies with traps, which was done pretty sharpish. See what I did there? Yeah. I'm sorry, I'll just see myself out. Round 25, and I had to defend the pit, and I gotta say, this whole time, I had been using the Viper and Dragon, which was also, funnily enough, the first time I'd ever used it, but goddamn, this thing is nuts. Actually carried me through some of these lockdown challenges, and I think I'd go ahead and say this is probably the best special weapon from the Chaos storyline. Round 26, and it was time for a challenge that I had been dreading, Weapon Roulette. This is basically just that one gobblegum from Black Ops 3 that randomly changes your guns when it sees fit. Meaning I no longer have my Hellion and Mog, but this can be cheesed, as whatever gun you end with during this challenge is the one you keep. So all I had to do was wait for the Hellion, and soon enough it popped up. Annoyingly, it wasn't pack-a-punched, but it wasn't like I was low on points or anything like that. Round 27, it was another Mog-only round, which I had once again completely forgot about, meaning I had to go and buy it back. Now, this is where things got a little dicey, as it's currently round 27. Zombies don't mess about on this round on this game, and I can only use an unpack-a-punch shotgun. So I tried to risk it all for a cheeky pack-a-punch, and very much almost got myself killed, which would have probably destroyed me considering we'd been going for over an hour at this point, and I was so close to the end. But now I had my slightly better Mog, I could actually kill things with it, and before long we were on to the next challenge. Round 28 was another relaxed round, as all I needed to do was get my 4 perks, which I already had. And then we were on to the penultimate round, round 29. Now this challenge is a doozy, and I fucking hate it. This is the round where I have failed countless times by myself, and to make things worse, I only had 1 life left. This challenge is a series of lockdowns around the map, starting and ending in the challenge podium. One by one, I make my way through these lockdowns, and one by one, I get more and more nervous about screwing this up. Thankfully, I had the Hellion as well as the Viper and Dragon, because without them, I know for a fact that I would have been dead within the first 2 lockdowns. There were, however, 2 specific points where I did think I was going to die, and that was on each of the bridges between the altars. Those lockdowns are evil, but I made it through just. That was until I thought I'd lost, as I had to make it down to the pit and I'd run out of time, and in just a reactionary state of pain, I completely stopped playing and just accepted defeat. That was until I looked up and saw that it was actually a damage over time penalty and not just a straight up immediately failed. So I legged it down to the pit, bought my shield and continued fighting. And after what was probably the most stressful 8 minutes of my gaming life, I finally beat this round and we were into the final challenge. Defeat the elephant. I won't lie, it's been quite some time since I last did the boss fight for 9, and I straight up couldn't remember how to actually kill the elephant. Does it take damage no matter what? Does it have certain weak points? Does it need to be stunned? I just didn't know, so I basically just threw literally everything at it until it died, and after several minutes of doing so, it happened. The elephant flops over, it's dead, and I've finally beaten this godforsaken gauntlet by myself. And oh boy, it feels good. Thank you for watching this video, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.